Close your eyes for just a moment and picture this. It is 3 in the morning, the house is completely silent, and yet there you are, wide awake, staring at the ceiling, heart beating just a little too fast, mind already racing through a list of things you cannot even name. Sound familiar? Here is what I want to ask you right now before we go any further. How many nights this week did that happen to you? Two, four, every single one? Because if waking up at 3 in the morning has become your new normal, I need you to understand something that almost no one explains to you. In a 12-minute office visit, your body is not betraying you, it is trying to reach you. And there's a very specific reason it chooses that exact hour to sound the alarm. My name is Dr. William, and in my 15 years of practice, I have sat across from hundreds of patients over the age of 60 who told me the same thing. I just figured this was part of getting older, so I stopped saying anything. And every single time I heard that, it broke my heart a little because the science tells a completely different story. Waking up at 3 in the morning, especially when it happens night after night, is not a random quirk of aging. It is a pattern, and patterns have causes, and causes have solutions. Today, I am going to walk you through 7 real biological reasons why your body may be pulling you out of sleep in the middle of the night. For each one, I will explain what is happening inside you, why it matters more after age 60, what it feels like from the inside, and most importantly, what you can actually do about it starting tonight. Some of these will click immediately, but I want you to pay special attention to the last one because it involves something that millions of older adults do every single evening, something they believe is completely harmless, and it may be the single biggest reason their sleep falls apart at 3 in the morning. Before we dive in, drop your age in the comments below and tell me how long this has been happening to you. Weeks, months, years? I read every single one, and your experience may be exactly what someone else watching right now needs to hear. They may be lying awake in their own home tonight, feeling completely alone with this, and your words could matter more than you know. Now, let us begin. Reason number 7, your blood sugar is dropping while you sleep, and your body is setting off an internal alarm. Think of your bloodstream like a river delivery system. All day long, that river carries fuel in the form of a sugar called glucose to every organ and muscle in your body. When you eat dinner, that delivery system gets a fresh supply, but as the night goes on, especially if your last meal was early, or if it was built mostly around simple carbohydrates like white bread, pasta, or something sweet, that river starts running low. When glucose drops below a certain level, your body does not just sit quietly and wait. It fires off an emergency response. It releases 2 hormones called cortisol and adrenaline. And those 2 chemicals are specifically designed to make you feel alert, awake, and on edge. They were built for survival, but at 3 in the morning, they do not feel like survival. They feel like a racing heart, a buzzing mind, and a wave of anxiety that seems to come from nowhere. I think of it like a fuel gauge in a car. While you sleep, that gauge slowly drops. If it falls below a certain line, the car does not just coast quietly to a stop. It sets off a warning light and an alarm. The problem is that alarm is going off at 3 in the morning, and you are lying there with no idea why. Let me tell you about someone I will call Gerald, 71, from outside of Columbus, Ohio. Gerald came to me after nearly a year of waking up shaky and anxious in the night. He was convinced it was his heart. His wife was convinced it was stress. We ruled out both. What we found was that Gerald was eating dinner early, around 5:30, and that dinner was almost entirely starchy carbohydrates with very little protein or fat to slow down how quickly his body processed the fuel. He was essentially running out of gas by midnight. We made one adjustment, a small balanced snack before bed, something like a small handful of almonds or a thin slice of cheese with a few whole grain crackers, just enough protein and healthy fat to keep that river flowing steadily through the night. Within 2 weeks, Gerald told me he had slept through to 6 in the morning, 4 nights in a row, something he had not done in over a year. Now, if you have diabetes or you are taking any medication that affects your blood sugar, please do not adjust your eating schedule without talking to your doctor first. The approach needs to be tailored to your specific situation. But for many older adults, this one small shift in the timing and content of an evening snack can make a remarkable difference. This is not about eating more, it is about eating smarter so that your body has steady, reliable fuel all the way through the night. Reason number six, your breathing may be stopping and starting without you ever knowing it. This is one that I feel strongly about because it affects an enormous number of people over 60, and the vast majority of them have no idea. What I am describing is called obstructive sleep apnea. And here is the simplest way to picture it. Imagine you are sleeping peacefully and someone gently covers your mouth and nose for several seconds. Your body would immediately fight back against that. It would wake you just enough to restore your breathing. That is essentially what happens when the soft tissue at the back of the throat relaxes during sleep and partially blocks the airway. Your brain detects the drop in oxygen and pulls you out of deep sleep just enough to get air moving again. You may not even remember waking up, but your body absolutely remembers, and this tends to happen most frequently in the second half of the night, right around 2 to 4 in the morning, because that is when your sleep naturally becomes lighter. The signs are not always what people expect. Yes, heavy snoring can be a clue, but many older adults with sleep apnea do not snore dramatically at all. Instead, they notice waking with a dry mouth, feeling exhausted no matter how many hours they spent in bed, morning headaches, or needing to visit the bathroom repeatedly overnight. I remember a patient I will call Sylvia, 73, from a small city in central Florida. Her daughter finally convinced her to see me after years of Sylvia chalking her exhaustion up to age. Sylvia told me she'd been tired for so long she had forgotten what rest had felt like. A home sleep study, which is now widely available and surprisingly comfortable, showed that Sylvia was stopping breathing dozens of times every single hour. Once she began treatment, she came back to my office 2 months later and said, and I will never forget this, that it felt like someone had lifted a fog she had not even known she was living in. This matters more after 60 because the muscles that hold your airway open naturally lose some of their tone as we age. Changes in body weight, certain medications, and your sleeping position can all play a role. If your partner has ever heard you gasp or noticed your breathing pause during sleep, or if you simply never feel rested no matter how much time you spend in bed, please bring that to your doctor. Treatment options have improved significantly, and this is one of those things that is very treatable once it is identified. Reason number five, your bladder is waking you up, and the reason may not be what you think. Getting up once in the night is common, but when it happens consistently around 3 in the morning and prevents you from falling back to sleep, it is worth understanding what is actually driving it. The medical term is nocturia, and the cause is often more interesting than simply drinking too much water before bed. Here's a picture that makes it clear. During the day, gravity is working against your body. Fluid that builds up in your lower legs and ankles cannot drain easily. So it pools down there, but the moment you lie down at night, that fluid is finally free to circulate back into your bloodstream. Your kidneys receive that fluid and start processing it. The result is that your bladder begins filling in the second half of the night, often right around 2, 3, or 4 in the morning. In older adults who have mild changes in heart function, this fluid shift can be even more pronounced. One very practical step is to elevate your legs for 20 to 30 minutes in the early evening before bed. A pillow under your calves works perfectly. This gives your body a chance to process that fluid earlier in the evening so less of it reaches your kidneys while you are trying to sleep. Staying well hydrated is still important, especially earlier in the day, but gently reducing fluid intake in the last 2 hours before bedtime can help reduce that late night buildup. And if this is happening more than twice a night, or if it has changed recently, please mention it to your doctor. As I always say, never stop a medication on your own and never ignore a change in a body pattern without bringing it to your doctor first. Sometimes nocturia points to something upstream that is very treatable once it is identified. If this video is already giving you something useful, I would love it if you hit the like button right now. That one small action tells YouTube to show this information to more older adults who are lying awake tonight with no idea why. And if you are not yet subscribed, this is a good moment to do that. I share this kind of information because I genuinely believe that clear, honest health education can change the quality of someone's life. And that is all this channel exists to do. Reason number 4, your body's internal alarm clock is going off at the wrong time. Your body runs on an internal schedule that doctors call the circadian rhythm. It controls when you feel sleepy, when you feel alert, and when certain hormones rise and fall throughout the 24-hour cycle. One of the most important hormones in that cycle is cortisol. Think of cortisol as your body's built-in morning announcement. In a healthy pattern, cortisol is low and quiet through the first half of the night, and then it begins rising gently in the early morning hours, gradually preparing your body to wake up feeling refreshed around 6 or 7. But here is where things go wrong. For many older adults, if your body's under chronic stress, and I mean any kind of stress, emotional worry, physical pain, low-grade inflammation, loneliness, financial anxiety, grief, concern about your health or your independence, that gentle morning rise in cortisol can be disrupted. Instead of climbing slowly at 6, it spikes sharply and prematurely, sometimes right around 3 in the morning. And when cortisol rises, you feel it. Your eyes open, your mind switches on. You may feel a vague sense that something is wrong without being able to name what it is. Your body cannot tell the difference between a real emergency and a hormonal imbalance. It simply responds. Think of it like a sunrise simulator alarm clock that someone has accidentally reprogrammed. It was supposed to go off at 6. Instead, it floods the room with light at 3, and now you are fully awake hours before you needed to be. Research published through institutions, including the Mayo Clinic and several university sleep programs, has consistently shown that even simple relaxation practices done consistently before bed can meaningfully improve cortisol regulation over time. I am not talking about meditation retreats or elaborate routines. I am talking about dimming the lights in your home an hour before bed, turning off stimulating news programs, taking 5 slow, deep breaths, writing your worries onto a piece of paper and setting it aside, physically moving them out of your mind and onto something you can deal with tomorrow. The signal you are sending your nervous system is simple. We are safe. It is time to rest. That signal, given consistently every night, teaches your body's alarm system to hold its announcement until morning, where it belongs. Reason number 3, chronic pain and inflammation are pulling you out of deep sleep, even when you do not feel the pain during the day. This is something that surprises people, and it is important. You do not need to be in severe pain for physical discomfort to destroy your sleep. Even mild background level pain, the kind you barely notice during the day because you are moving and distracted, can become significant in the deep quiet of 3 in the morning. Here is a way to picture it. Think of chronic pain as the hum of a refrigerator. During the day, there's enough noise and activity around you that the hum blends into the background. But at 3 in the morning, in total silence, that exact same hum seems almost unbearable. The pain has not gotten worse. It simply has no competition anymore. And there is a biological reason why this peaks in the second half of the night. Certain inflammatory markers in the body naturally fluctuate through sleep cycles, and they tend to rise during the lighter sleep stages that dominate the early morning hours. Joint stiffness, lower back pain, shoulder tension, arthritis in the hands, restless legs, these are not just daytime problems. They follow you into the night, And in the lighter phases of sleep that occur around 3 in the morning, even low level inflammation can be enough to pull you fully awake. Let me tell you about someone I will call Marlene, 69, from a suburb of Charlotte, North Carolina. Marlene came to me convinced that her 3 in the morning wake ups were pure anxiety. She did not feel pain when she woke up. But when we talked more carefully, she realized she had been dealing with mild arthritis in her hips and lower back for years. Her doctor made a simple adjustment to the timing of her anti inflammatory medication, shifting it so that its peak effect coincided with the early morning hours. We also talked about gentle stretching before bed, specifically targeting her hips, lower back, and shoulders. Not vigorous exercise, light, slow movement that tells the body it is time to decompress. Within 3 weeks, Marlene reported sleeping through until 5:30 most mornings, something she had not done in 2 years. Practical steps you can take tonight include gentle stretching before bed, ensuring that your mattress and pillow are giving your spine the support it actually needs, and speaking with your doctor about whether the timing of any pain or inflammation medication could be optimized for your nighttime needs. And please hear me say this directly. Chronic pain is not something you should simply accept and endure in silence. You deserve to have it managed. Good sleep is not a luxury on top of that. It is actually part of how the body repairs and maintains itself. You cannot heal well when you are not sleeping well. Now, we have covered quite a bit of ground together, and I want to take a moment here because everything I have shared so far, the blood sugar piece, the breathing, the bladder, the cortisol, the pain and inflammation, these are things that people deserve to know and that rarely get enough time in a 12-minute office visit. I have put together a resource for this community called the Complete Senior Health Vault. It contains 3 detailed guides I have written specifically for adults over 60, covering the medications worth questioning, food as medicine after 70, and a practical manual for understanding your body in this stage of life. If you would like to go deeper on any of what we are talking about today, the link is right there in the description below this video. And you can also scan the QR code on your screen right now because what I am about to share next, reasons 2 and 1, are in my view the most overlooked and the most impactful of everything we have covered. So stay with me. Reason number 2, anxiety, grief, and loneliness come to the surface at 3 in the morning because your defenses are down. I want to address this one with the honesty and the gentleness it deserves because in my 15 years of practice, I have watched many people struggle with this quietly for a long time without ever naming what it actually was. During the day, you are occupied. There are tasks, routines, people to speak to, things on television, small decisions that keep your mind engaged. But at 3 in the morning, all of those distractions vanish. And the emotions that you have been managing, sometimes without even being aware of how much energy that management takes, rise to the surface. It might be worry about your health or about whether you are becoming a burden to the people you love. It might be grief, not necessarily fresh grief, but the accumulated kind that settles in over years of losses. Friends who are no longer here, a spouse, a version of your life that was different. It might be the quiet ache of loneliness that comes when a life that was once full of people and activity has gradually grown smaller and more silent. These are not signs of weakness, they are signs of being human. And there is a real biological explanation for why they surface at this specific hour. During the lighter stages of sleep, the brain is actively processing emotional experiences. It is reviewing what happened, how it felt, what it means. When there is a weight of unresolved emotion, that processing becomes more intense, intense enough to wake you. Let me tell you about a patient I will call Raymond, 74, from a small town in rural Tennessee. Raymond had been waking at 3 in the morning since his wife passed away 2 years before he came to see me. He was not someone who cried during the day. He kept busy. He told himself he was fine, but every single night his body told a different story. Raymond was not ready to call it grief. But when I gently suggested that what his body was experiencing was a very normal physiological response to a very significant loss, something shifted for him. He began meeting once a week with a counselor who offered sessions by phone. Within 2 months, the nighttime wake ups became noticeably less frequent and less distressing. If any of this resonates with you, I want you to hear this directly. Reaching out for emotional support is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is a sign that you understand the connection between your mind and your body and that you are willing to take care of both. Talking to someone you trust, writing in a journal before bed to move those thoughts out of your head and onto paper, or speaking with a counselor or therapist, all of these can make a measurable difference in how your nervous system behaves at 3 in the morning. Telehealth and phone based counseling have made this more accessible than ever, and that access matters. And now, reason number one, this is the one I mentioned at the very beginning, the one that surprises almost everyone, because it is not about something wrong with your body. It is about something you are doing every evening that you believe is completely harmless. Your nighttime habits may be quietly dismantling your sleep from the inside out. Let me explain something called sleep architecture, because once you understand this, everything clicks. Sleep is not one long, continuous state. It is a sequence of cycles, each lasting roughly 90 minutes, and each cycle moves through lighter sleep, deep sleep, and dreaming sleep. Here is the critical part. In a healthy night, you get the majority of your deep restorative sleep in the first half of the night. The second half of the night is naturally lighter. That means the period around 3 in the morning is already the most vulnerable part of your entire sleep cycle. Any disruption to your system, even a small one, is most likely to wake you up during that window. And that is exactly where your evening habits come in. Let us start with caffeine, because this one consistently surprises people. Many older adults switch to tea in the evening, believing it is gentle and harmless. But black tea, green tea, and even some herbal blends contain enough caffeine to affect sleep. And here is the part that matters. Specifically, after age 60, your body processes caffeine more slowly as you get older. What your system cleared in 4 hours at age 40 may now take six, seven, or even eight. That means a cup of tea at 7 in the evening may still be active in your system at 3 in the morning. Research from sleep medicine programs has consistently documented this slowed metabolism of caffeine in older adults. A pure herbal tea, something like chamomile or rooibos, which contains zero caffeine, is a simple and genuinely pleasant substitute. Alcohol is the next one. A small glass of wine in the evening feels relaxing, and it does help many people fall asleep faster. But the research on this is remarkably consistent. Alcohol fragments the second half of the night. It disrupts the lighter sleep stages and significantly increases the likelihood of waking up in the early morning hours and being unable to fall back to sleep. If you enjoy a drink, having it earlier in the evening rather than close to bedtime can make a real difference. Then there is screen light. Watching television or using a tablet late at night exposes your eyes to a wavelength of light that suppresses melatonin, which is the hormone your brain uses to maintain its sleep cycle. Think of melatonin as the dimmer switch for your brain. Screen light at night tells that dimmer to stay up. This does not mean you can never watch television in the evening, but the closer to bedtime and the brighter the screen, the more it interferes with your brain's ability to stay asleep through the night. Finally, eating a heavy meal late in the evening forces your digestive system to work during the hours it was designed to rest. That internal activity, combined with the potential for acid reflux or discomfort, makes the already fragile second half of the night even more vulnerable. The solution here is not about deprivation, it is about protection. After mid afternoon, shift to a caffeine free herbal tea. If you enjoy a glass of wine, have it earlier in the evening. Dim the lights in your home an hour before bed. If possible, move your evening meal a little earlier and keep it lighter. None of these changes is dramatic in isolation. but together they build a kind of protective wall around the second half of your night, which is precisely the part that determines whether you sleep through until morning or find yourself wide awake at 3. So let me bring everything together, because seeing the full picture is as important as understanding each piece individually. Your body waking you at 3 in the morning is not a mystery, and it is not a life sentence. It is a signal, and that signal may be coming from blood sugar that drops too low overnight, from breathing that is being interrupted without your awareness, from a bladder responding to fluid shifts that happen as you lie down, from cortisol rising too early because of chronic stress, from pain and inflammation that become louder in the silence of the night, from emotional weight that the brain processes during its lightest sleep stages, or from evening habits that are quietly eroding the most vulnerable part of your sleep cycle. And most of the time, it is not just one of these working alone. It is two or three of them reinforcing each other. The good news, and I mean this sincerely, is that once you identify which of these applies to you, the steps forward are almost always simpler than you expect. A small protein based snack before bed, elevating your legs in the early evening, a conversation with your doctor about your breathing or your bladder, a consistent wind down routine, gentle stretching before sleep, emotional support, and a careful, honest look at what you eat, drink, and do in the 2 hours before you turn out the light. None of this requires expensive equipment. None of it requires complicated procedures. It requires awareness, and it requires believing that you are worth the effort. And I am here to tell you directly, you absolutely are. You are never too old to sleep well. You are never too old to wake up feeling genuinely rested. It is never too late to reclaim your nights and protect the energy, the mental clarity, and the independence that make your life your own. After 60, your body changes. But change is not the same as decline. Change means your body needs you to listen more carefully, to respond more thoughtfully, and to treat yourself with the care you have earned across a lifetime. Sleep is not a luxury. It is the foundation that everything else is built on. Your balance, your memory, your mood, your immune system, your ability to be present with the people and the moments that matter most to you. So tonight, pick one thing from what we talked about, just one. Try it. See how your body responds. Give it a few nights and see what shifts. Before you go, I want to ask you something. Is there someone in your life, a friend, a neighbor, a sibling, a parent, who has been struggling with this and does not know why? Would you consider sharing this with them? Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do for someone you care about is simply getting the right information to them at the right moment. And one final thought, because I want to open a door before you leave. We have talked today about what pulls you out of sleep, but there is a deeper conversation worth having about what specific foods taken at specific times have been shown to support sleep quality, cortisol regulation, and overnight blood sugar stability in adults over 60. The research on this is genuinely remarkable, and it points to a handful of everyday ingredients that most people have completely overlooked. That is exactly what we are going to cover in the next video, and I think you will find it changes how you think about your last meal of the day. This information is educational in nature and is not intended as personalized medical advice. Always bring new symptoms and any changes to your health routine to your own doctor before acting on them.